Hi everyone, we'll be starting the webinar shortly. Welcome to the Construction TLevel update for February. There is a survey link on the bottom of the slide there. We'll be asking for a little bit of feedback later on. You can make a note of that now. As well as that, just familiarise yourself with the questions buttons. We'll be offering the opportunity to ask questions later on. Thanks. Okay, we're going to start and have a look at the agenda. Not too many slides for you today. We're hoping the presentation will last about 20 to 30 minutes. We'll then be given the opportunity for questions after that. We're going to be looking at the overview of T-levels, where we are with development for both the on-site and the BSc side of things, the development timelines, timescales for development, for assessment and things like that, how you can get involved, and the opportunity to feedback is the key thing from today. So from today it's myself, Rob Mallender, Technical Advisor for Building Services, as well as that we've got Lead Development Manager Richard Burns. So before we get going on content, a little bit of background context to the project. So we, in conjunction with EAL as a partner, had to bid to develop the T-level qualification as part of this project. So collaborative working with EAL to enable us to focus on quality, pool resources where we need to. So we're developing the actual content with a lead development in the partnership, but we're pooling resources, employer links, so we can engage with industry and the delivery network across more centres, etc. And we can hopefully produce a quality product with the resources we both have. So we were successful in that bid, and now we're currently developing the T-level qualification, and we're going to go through the content of that. So what are T-levels and technical qualifications? So T-levels are going to become one of three major options when a student reaches level 3. So we've already got A-levels, the more academic route. We've got people in employment who are completing apprenticeships, carrying out training on the job as well as in colleges, training centres, etc. And then we've got this new model, which is a T-level, which is designed to get people into high-end education or employer focused and being more employable to get into the key industry area they're looking at. So that's going to be one of the three major options available. So what's a T-level program look like? So the T-level program, up to 1,800 hours over 2 years, includes UCAS points and is equivalent to 3 A-levels. So this slide is what is the generic scope for the T-level program. So we're going to look at some more specific ones in future slides which relate to construction and building services. So we've got a core component which could be up to 50% of the total qualification time. Transferable skills across all construction, building services, delivery items, and assessed by an external exam and an employer set project. As well as that, we've got an occupational specialism, and again we're going to look at the breakdown when we move on to construction. This is going to be assessed then by synoptic practical assignment. So the bit there in the black box is the bit City and Guilds are developing at the moment. The bit outside of that then in the red box, the work placement, which is going to be between 315 and 420 hours, 45 to 60 days, being developed by Department for Education and trialled at the moment. And then we've got Maths and English, there you can see at level 2, as well as other requirements. So that can be things like licence to practice elements, and in our programs we're probably going to be looking at CSCS cards and things like that. And then we've also got enrichment as part of that program as well.
Good afternoon everyone. Just going to give a brief update on where City and Guilds are in regards to the development of the technical qualification in the T-level at the moment. So the development team's been working hard over the last couple of months, basically working closely with SMEs, employers, etc. in amplifying the content that you have probably had eyes on in the draft specifications that we've put on the website. So we've worked closely with obviously industry and SME consultants in providers to develop that. We are now in a process of QAing the draft specifications at the moment, and we are currently developing sample assessment materials that we need to submit as part of our milestone submission, which is coming up at the end of February.
So now in this slide, we're actually going to look at how the T-level technical qualification is structured. So what we've got is, in the construction on site one, a construction core. Now this is core content which is generic to all the occupational specialisms you can see on the slide. So this will be things like health and safety in construction, construction site principles, generic construction design principles, construction built environment, sustainability, and things which are covered by all the specialisms. So the idea being they do the construction core first and then choose one of the occupational specialisms you can see there on the slide: carpentry and joinery, plastering, bricklaying, or painting and decorating. Richard's now going to just go into a little bit of an insight on how these might be assessed.
Okay, so what's important to note here is that this assessment approach is obviously still in draft, and it is a proposal, and we do need to get approval from IFE. But the current proposals is that the construction core will be assessed by 2 externally set and marked exam and an employer set project. The occupational specialisms will be assessed through a synoptical practical assignment.
So what we've given on this slide is, again, a little bit more detail around the actual guided learning hours which have been allocated to this. So we've got the construction core there at 400 hours proposal, and then 1 occupational specialism and 500 hours per specialism has been scoped out to that. Now, so Richard, how do we get to those guided learning hours? How do we come to that as an assessment development team?
So basically, we work with consultants who develop the qualifications, that have background in industry and in providing training, and these are proposed by them on reviewing the content, what that would take to deliver, etc. So I think these are proposed. We'd be very keen to have your view and your thoughts and feedback on these proposed hours, and there's a question later on in the survey that will give you an opportunity to respond.
So now we've got a brief overview of the building services structure. So again, we've got a core, but the BSE core actually includes all the content of the construction core. There is extra outcomes included in there though, and when we look at the GLH, that does relate to that. The guided learning hours do relate to that. There's basically extra learning outcomes in there which are more building services specific, but again, go across all the occupational specialisms. So it's things which are generic to all specialisms. So the science, principles of maintenance, building services, engineering systems, tools and equipment and materials which are relating to all trades. They're the type of topics which are in there extra to the common construction core. Richard's going to explain how that's assessed in more detail, but then we've got the occupational specialisms after that. In building services, we've got to actually choose 2 occupational specialisms to deliver. I'm not going to read all those off the slides, but some will be more or less ones we're common towards: your plumbing, your electrotech, but the ventilation, heat and ventilating, that type of ventilation, with gas engineering, is domestic gas engineering. Heating engineering does include a lot of domestic content, but heat and vent sort of topic, it's related to more that heat and vent apprenticeship. And then you've got your air conditioning, which links well with the refrigeration engineering, the last one there, electronic equipment, and the protection systems, which is things like alarm systems and that type of thing. But you're going to actually be able to view this content. So, you know, we're not going to go into that on a slide, the idea being after today, you should have seen it. If not before today, we're going to send you the content and you're going to be able to review the content and feedback on that content. Because don't forget, this content has been given to us by the industry panels. So City and Guilds have turned the content into a qualification. So they've amplified that content, they've given it more range and detail, but the outlying content has actually been given to us by that panel.
Okay, so just to talk briefly about the BSc core assessment. So again, this will be, and this is again a proposed and needs to be approved, but 2 externally set and marked exams. Due to the increased BSc content within this core, they are deemed to be a slightly larger. An employer set project, and then the occupational specialisms will be assessed by a synoptical practical assignment for each occupational specialism chosen.
So now let's have a look at the base guided learning hours for the building services engineering pathways. So as I said, slightly more content in the core for this one. So we've got 520 GLH guided learning hours provisionally attached to that. And then we've got to choose 2 pathways. Now, obviously things are quite tight to squeeze these pathways into the 1800 hour total programme with all the work placement, etc., which is also included in it. So the consultants at the moment have provisionally added 440 to each pathway. In comparison to the differing guided learning hours in the construction pathways, again, that is something we're going to be asking for a little bit of feedback for on a short survey afterwards.
Okay, so the slide we're looking at now just highlights some high-level key milestone dates that we are working towards with IFATE as part of this development. The first one being the end of this month, where we will be submitting our assessment strategy, draft TQ specifications and sample assessment materials. In April, we have milestone 2, and then in June, we'll have the full approval milestone 3 submission to IFATE. In between these dates, we will obviously get feedback from IFATE, and we'll be taking that on board and again working closely with consultants, industry, subject matter experts in how we can continue to improve the product in terms of assessment and technical qualification specs.
So this will be developed then to roll out to the list of preferred providers for 2021, September 2021. Anybody else out there, this will be trialled, and so this will be almost coming to yourselves in a lot of cases September 2022 for delivery. So that's the sort of time frames for a rollout. This June 2020 is in preparation for us to prepare the initial pilot centres almost for September 21 delivery. Well, if you like, the generic network then of centres would be September 22.
So what can providers and employers get involved in? Throughout the development process, we're very keen that we work with providers and employers in the sector. So feedback on the technical qualification for the core and the occupational specialisms through online surveys, webinars and attendance at review and editing meetings. Co-create in the design and validate the employer set project, which is key on an annual basis. Co-create, feedback and validate the occupational specialism assignments to make sure that they're fit for purpose and they actually are relevant to industry and solve real world problems out there. Employers validate grade standard exemplification materials post-qualification awarding. So this is where we were using a group of employers on an annual basis to actually sign off the award and standards that are met to inform future years. So if you would like to get involved, please contact us on the email address there, which is qualdevelopment@cityandguilds.com. Okay, so as Rob mentioned at the start, there was a survey link which hopefully you've all been able to load up. You'll see that we've asked some questions specifically in relation to the TQ specification content, the guided learning hours, and also the combination of occupational specialisms. We'd really encourage you to participate in the survey. Your feedback is critical in informing the development and the conversations that we will obviously be having with our regulators in making sure that we got a fit for purpose qualification and it meets what both learners and industry needs.
So as well as that, we are putting the survey out there. But again, if anybody's got any specific feedback you feel doesn't maybe not appropriate for the survey or doesn't quite fit with the questions, again, just drop it into that qualification development email and admin teams will pick it up from there. Appreciate that. Okay, that concludes the presentation. We did say we'd probably be taking about half an hour on this. We wanted to spend some time on getting questions answered if there's any initial questions around the process of feeding back, the content, or any comments or anything like that. You can use the question tabs there on the webinar keys. Okay, we'll give it a few minutes and then we'll come back and get some questions.